I had a meeting at the Pentagon, and I was meeting with some big general. And you know when you go for a meeting in an office, you sit in the foyer and they come and get you, and you make hallway talk on the way to the office to have the meeting.
Sure.
How was your trip? You know, that kind of stuff. And so he came to get me, and we were walking to his office, and we were making hallway talk. He said to me, Simon, I've had everyone in my office read your book. And I responded, my publisher thanks you. And he responded, tell them not to bother. I had them read my copy. Total book sales, 1. Total impact, huge.
Right.
Versus when I go to an event and they give away 500 copies of my book for free, but nobody reads it, they use them as coasters. Total book sales, 500. Total impact, nothing, negligible. And so if the only drive is to sell books, you can achieve that. You can buy that. There are tricks and games in marketing that you can do that, and you spike and you disappear, right? But are you interested in sales or are you interested in impact?
Right.
And impact is a lot harder to measure because there's no direct correlation to the sale and the impact. But maybe somebody bought one and talks about it and talks about it and talks about it and talks about it and talks about it. And that's what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Those are the things I'm in. Why would someone talk about your stuff even if they don't buy it?
Well, and you don't know the impact down the road.
You have no clue.
So maybe it's been dormant inside their heart for a year, 5 years. An experience, a thought, an emotion triggers it, all
Correct.
of a sudden it comes out, and now it's valuable.
Correct. And so where metrics and making decisions solely based on the measurable is inconvenient, is we can only really measure one level out. We can measure the click or the view, or how much time they spend there, and we can try and produce theories as to whether that will yield. But we have no clue what happens 4, 5, 6 levels beyond that, and whether that helped, didn't help, negatively affected or positively affected the behavior that happens, or more importantly, how they tell their friends. I'm more interested in people talking about my work than actually personally engaging with it. For one person to read a book is great. For one person to tell 4, 5, 6, 7 of their friends about something that they may only read the first chapter, and that was enough to inspire them, I'll take that any day.
Relationships aren't built out of thin air. They take time. It's consistency versus intensity. You can't get in shape by going to the gym for 9 hours. It doesn't work that way. But if you go to the gym every single day for 20 minutes, you will absolutely get into shape. Consistency matters more than intensity. Intensity is going to the dentist twice a year, as prescribed. And if you only did that, all your teeth will fall out. We like intensity because it's easy to measure. I know exactly what time I'm going to the dentist, I know the date, I know how long I'm going to be there, and I know the results. This is how we teach leadership. We have a big seminar, we have an off-site, we have a couple speakers, everybody gets a certificate, we give the speakers high reviews, 8.5, I had a great time, I'm a leader now. No. You don't fall in love with one big beautiful dinner and a bouquet of flowers. It's the little stuff. It's brushing your teeth every day for 2 minutes in the morning and 2 minutes in the evening. By itself, it does nothing. Nothing. It's the consistency. It's the repeat that makes our teeth healthy. And that's how relationships are built too. The way we build friendships, the way we build trust, the way we build camaraderie is when we're waiting for Bob because we're a little late, because he's a little late. We talk. Hey, I heard your dad was in the hospital. Is he okay? Oh yeah, thank you. He's much better. He's home now. Thank you for asking. Hey, whatever happened with that client? I heard something exploded. Oh my God, it was insane. By itself, it does nothing. But when we create environments in which those kinds of conversations happen on a daily basis, by removing the technology and allowing people to connect, you will see a rise in trust, a rise in cooperation. You will see a building of confidence. You will see an ability to rely on people. And why is it important to rely on people and trust people? So we can create environments of vulnerability.
What are the most important characteristics about being a leader? Vision, charisma, I know some spectacular leaders who don't have big Steve Jobsian visions. They're just not visionary, And I know some spectacular leaders who really don't have a lot of charisma. They kind of just shuffle around, and you're like, that's the guy? That's the guy, right? And they're spectacular, and people will give blood, sweat, and tears for these people. The one thing I am comfortable saying that all effective leaders must have is courage, because it is hard. It is hard to stand up against outside pressure. It is hard to stand up to an external constituency who's pushing you to do something for their short-term gain, to do the right thing for your people. It is hard. It is thankless. It is lonely. Sometimes you get fired. Sometimes you get in trouble. Sometimes you'll lose your job, and the next guy will get all the credit. It's all true. And the courage to do the right thing in the face of overwhelming pressure, only the best leaders have that courage. Only the best leaders. And here's the folly. Courage is not some deep internal fortitude. You don't dig down deep and find the courage, right? It just doesn't exist. Courage is external. Our courage comes from the support we feel from others. In other words, when you feel that someone has your back, when you know that the day that you admit you can't do it, someone will be there and say, I got you. You can do this. That's what gives you the courage to do the difficult thing. It's not going off to an ashram by yourself somewhere for 4 weeks and coming back and finding the courage. It's not what happens. It's the relationships that we foster. It's the people around us who love us and care about us and believe in us. And when we have those relationships, we will find the courage to do the right thing. And when you act with courage, that in turn will inspire those in your organization to also act with courage. In other words, it's still an external thing. That's what inspiration is, right? I'm inspired to follow your example. But those relationships that we foster over the course of a lifetime will not only make us into the leaders we need to be and hope we can be, but they'll often save your life. They'll save you from depression, they'll save you from giving up, they'll save you from any matter of negative feelings about your own capabilities, your own future. When someone just says, I love you, and I will follow you no matter what.
When a leader makes the choice to put the safety and lives of the people inside the organization first, to sacrifice their comforts and sacrifice the tangible results so that the people remain and feel safe and feel like they belong, remarkable things happen. I was flying on a trip, and I was witness to an incident where a passenger attempted to board before their number was called. And I watched the gate agent treat this man like he had broken the law, like a criminal. He was yelled at for attempting to board one group too soon. So I said something. I said, why do you have to treat us like cattle? Why can't you treat us like human beings? And this is exactly what she said to me. She said, sir, if I don't follow the rules, I could get in trouble or lose my job. All she was telling me is that she doesn't feel safe. All she was telling me is that she doesn't trust her leaders. The reason we like flying Southwest Airlines is not because they necessarily hire better people, it's because they don't fear their leaders. You see, if the conditions are wrong, we're forced to expend our own time and energy to protect ourselves from each other. And that inherently weakens the organization. When we feel safe inside the organization, we will naturally combine our talents and our strengths and work tirelessly to face the dangers outside and seize the opportunities. The closest analogy I can give to what a great leader is like being a parent. If you think about what being a great parent is, what do you want? What makes a great parent? We want to give our child opportunities, education, discipline them when necessary, all so that they can grow up and achieve more than we could for ourselves. Great leaders want exactly the same thing. They want to provide their people opportunity, education, discipline when necessary, build their self-confidence, give them the opportunity to try and fail, all so that they could achieve more than we could ever imagine for ourselves. Charlie Kim, who's the CEO of a company called NextJump in New York City, a tech company, he makes the point that if you had hard times in your family, would you ever consider laying off one of your children? We would never do it. Then why do we consider laying off people inside our organization? Charlie implemented a policy of lifetime employment. If you get a job at NextJump, you cannot get fired for performance issues. In fact, if you have issues, they will coach you and they will give you support, just like we would with one of our children who happens to come home with a C from school.
Okay.
Because the problem when people say you need to be a better listener is we are human beings and we need to communicate, and communication is two ways, listening and speaking. So but everybody's like, you got to be a better listener. Like, but here's the best understanding I have of it. So Nelson Mandela is universally regarded as a great leader, which is important because different people are viewed differently in different nations. But Nelson Mandela, universally regarded as a great leader, right? He was actually the son of a tribal chief, and he was asked in an interview once, "How did you learn to be a great leader?" And he tells the story of how he would go to tribal meetings with his father, and he remembers two things. They always sat in a circle, and his father was always the last to speak. And in terms of leadership and listening, I think the idea of be a better listener is actually half the advice. I think the advice is practice being the last to speak. You see this all the time in meetings where everybody will sit around a room, the senior guy will be like, all right, here's the problem, here's what I think we should do, but I'm really interested in what your thoughts are.
Yes.
Let's go around the room. It's too late. You've influenced the room.
Created the
If you
framework.
and people bend and mold, as opposed to saying, here's the problem, I'm interested in what you have to say, without saying anything. And not even, and having this, and this takes practice, not even giving a hint whether you agree or disagree. If anything, you ask questions to learn more, you get the benefit of hearing everybody's opinion, everybody gets to feel heard, and then you get to render your
So
opinion.
I would tell you, and this is for people that are running businesses, that is a micro example of the way, and I think makes a ton of sense. I would tell you, Andy, you obviously direct report to me, you run our team. I think people would be stunned by how little we talk at all. Like the level of Like the level of micromanagement I put on, like my version of that is actually letting people do their thing and watching it from speaking last. I guess my punchline is by the time I get into the meeting where we're like, here's the problem, the amount of listening that has been done because I've created such a white canvas for the leaders to do their thing and I can watch it and contextualize what they're doing is the macro version. Because once you're in that meeting room, that's basically the final pitch of what's been going on over that period of time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I believe in that quite a bit. Okay.